So, guten Abend.
Let us open with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet Lieber Vater im Himmel,
I want to thank you for all your help during these days so far.
ich möchte dir danken für all deine Hilfe während diesen Tag soweit.
Thank you that we are gathering together to study.
Und danke, dass wir hier zusammenkommen können zu studieren.
And Father, I want to ask you that you will bless Brother Lawrence as he's laying out his thoughts.
Und Vater, ich möchte dir bitten, dass du Bruder Lorenz segnest, wenn er seine Gedanken darbringt.
Bless also the live stream and the translation.
Und bitte segne auch den Livestream und auch die Übersetzung.
And help us to put away all the other thoughts
Und hilft uns, alle anderen Gedanken beiseite zu legen.
and focus our minds upon the topic.
Und dass wir unseren Verstand auf den Thema fokussieren können.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay, so the notes are in the livestream group.
So, die Notizen sind in der Livestream-Gruppe.
And the hymn that we just sung was a fitting hymn, okay?
Und das Lied, das wir gerade gesungen haben, das passt sehr gut.
Because it's exactly the topic I want to look at
Das
today.
ist genau der Thema, die ich anschauen möchte.
Okay, good. So I want to look at about the heavens,
So, ich möchte den Himmel anschauen,
but this time I want to look at the counterfeit heavens. Okay.
aber dieses Mal möchte ich den Fälschungshimmel anschauen.
Okay, because what do we understand?
Denn wie verstehen wir das?
For every true, there's also always a counterfeit.
Für alles,
Right?
was wahr ist, gibt es immer eine Fälschung.
And how many Jerusalems are there, for instance?
Wie viele Jerusalemme gibt es zum Beispiel?
2, right?
2.
So one wicked Jerusalem,
Ein
one
böses Jerusalem
righteous
und ein
Jerusalem.
gerechtes Jerusalem.
And what happens with the wicked Jerusalem?
Und was geschieht mit das böse Jerusalem? Destroyed.
It will be destroyed,
Es wird
right?
zerstört werden.
Okay, so now let's look at the story or the illustrations of these heavens, and we'll see that the same principle is also illustrated with the heavens.
So, lasst uns jetzt diese Geschichte oder diese Darstellung von den Himmeln anschauen und da werden wir sehen, dass derselbe Prinzip mit diesen Himmeln anzuwenden
Okay.
ist.
Let's look first at the true heavens.
Zuerst schauen wir die wahren Himmeln an.
Psalms 19, verse 1 to 3.
Im Psalm 19, die Verse 1 bis 3.
It says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard." Okay, so the true heavens, they declare God's glory,
So, die wahre Himmeln, die verkünden Gottes
and
Herrlichkeit.
we spent some time with Brother Mark going through these illustrations, right?
Und wir haben einige Zeit mit Bruder Mark verbracht, als er durch diese Darstellungen hindurchging.
So who is declaring the glory of God in the heavens?
So, wer ist es, der die Herrlichkeit des Herrn im Himmel ankündigt?
Sun, moon and stars, right?
Sonne, Mond und Sterne.
Okay. So now let's go to the next quote,
So, gehen wir zur nächsten Zitat.
familiar quote.
Ein bekannter Zitat.
It says, December 16, 1848. "The Lord gave me a view of the shaking of the powers of the heavens. I saw that when the Lord said heaven, in giving the signs recorded by Matthew, Mark and Luke, he meant heaven. And when he said earth, he meant earth. The powers of heaven are the sun, moon and stars. They rule in the heavens. The powers of the earth are those that rule on the earth. The powers of heaven will be shaken at the voice of God. Then the sun, moon and stars will be moved out of their places. They will not pass away, but be shaken by the voice of God." Okay, so when the heavens get shaken, what gets shaken?
So, wenn den Himmel erschüttert wird, was wird erschüttert?
Sun, moon and stars.
Sonne, Mond
Okay.
und Sterne.
Okay. So now let's go to Hebrews 12,
Gehen wir jetzt zu Hebräer 12,
26 to 27.
26, 27.
And what do we understand? When do the heavens get shaken?
Und wie verstehen wir das? Wann werden die Himmel erschüttert?
Yes, at the seventh plague, right?
Die 7. Plage, wo er sagt,
Okay.
es ist getan.
So Hebrews 12,
Hebräer
verse
12,
26 to 27.
26, 27.
Whose voice then shook the earth, but now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Okay, so when the shaking of the heavens come,
So, wenn die Erschütterung des Himmels ankommt,
what happens?
was geschieht?
Sun, moon, and stars.
Yes, okay, but according to what we can read here in verse 27.
So, gemäß was wir hier in Vers 27 lesen können.
Everything
that can be shaken.
Yes, everything that can be shaken out will be shaken out.
So, alles, was hinausgesichtet werden kann, wird hinausgesichtet werden.
Okay, so therefore there's a separation, right?
Und deswegen gibt es eine Trennung.
Okay, so some things will be shaken out, other things will remain.
So, einige Sachen werden hinausgesichtet, andere Sachen werden bleiben.
that day shall not come, except the come
From the first, yes. Okay.
Dieser Tag wird nicht kommen, es sei denn, dass es vor ein Wegfallen gibt.
Now let's go to Revelation 8.
So, Offenbarung 8
Speaks about these trumpet powers here.
spricht über diese Posaunenmächte,
The third and the fourth trumpet.
der dritte und vierte Posaun.
Let's begin in verse 10.
Vers 10 fangen wir an.
And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. So here we can see a star falling from heaven,
So,
right?
hier können wir einen Stern, der vom Himmel fällt.
And who's the star?
Und wer ist dieser Stern?
It's the one who is going to make you have a better experience.
Exactly. Satan, right?
Das ist Satan.
Okay. So Satan is a star in heaven, but he falls from heaven.
Satan ist
Okay.
ein Stern im Himmel, aber er fällt vom Himmel.
And now in Revelation 8, verse 12.
Jetzt Vers 12, Offenbarung 8, 12.
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not, for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So what can we see here?
So, was können wir hier sehen?
Sun, moon, and
Sonne,
stars.
Mond und Stern.
But what sort of sun, moon, and stars?
Aber was für Sonne, Mond und Stern?
Okay,
Der
what sort?
Also, was für eine Art?
What do you mean?
Righteous stars?
So, gerechte Sterne?
It's counterfeit,
Das
right?
ist das Fälschung.
It's because what did it historically illustrate?
Denn historisch, was hat das dargestellt?
Rome.
Yes, the threefold government of Rome,
So,
right?
die dreifaltige Regierungsform von Rom.
And it was a punishment by God on them.
Das war eine Bestrafung von Gott über sie.
What do you mean by? I mean, all the stars that fall are unrighteous, are they not?
Yes.
So, alle Sterne, die fallen, sind ungerecht.
No, what I mean is, that there's a righteous sun, moon, and stars, and there's a wicked sun, moon, and stars.
Also, es gibt eine gerechte Sonne, Mond und Stern und ein böses Sonne, Mond und Stern.
Yes, that's true. Yes, but all the sun, moon, and stars that falls is marking that they all represent the same unrighteous thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I just want to make the point now that there's wicked sun, moon, and stars.
So, ich möchte nur den Punkt machen, dass es böse Sonne, Mond und Sterne gibt.
Okay. So therefore we cannot just go to the Bible and whenever we read sun, moon, and stars, we can always apply it to Christ and the saints. Okay.
So, deswegen, wenn wir Sonne, Mond und Stern in der Bibel lesen, wir können es nicht immer Christus und den Heiligen anwenden.
This is counterfeit.
For instance, Lucifer.
Zum Beispiel Luzifer.
He wants to be like the Most High.
Yes. Because maybe let's go to Revelation chapter 22.
So, gehen wir zur Offenbarung 22.
And let's read verse 16.
Vers 16.
I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. So Christ is who?
Christus ist wer?
The sun, the morning star.
Yes.
Morningstar.
The morning
Morgenstern.
star. Okay. So dear sisters, I think this is not a hair shop here. Okay. We need to focus on God's word. Okay.
Das ist kein Haarsalon.
Okay. So Christ is the morning star. And what is the morning star?
So, Christus ist der Morgenstern. Was ist der Morgenstern?
The day star, the sun.
Yes, the sun.
Das ist die
Right?
Sonne.
Okay. It's the star that rises up in the morning. It's the sun.
Es ist der Stern, der morgens aufgeht. Es ist die Sonne.
And Lucifer is the only. What language is Lucifer? What language does it come from? The word Lucifer.
Luzifer, das Wort Luzifer. Von welcher Sprache kommt das her?
It's Latin.
Es
Yes.
ist von das Latein.
Okay, it's the only Latin word in the whole Bible.
Es ist das einzige Lateinwort in der ganzen Bibel.
Okay. And they used it. They used Lucifer in order to really make it clear that it speaks about Lucifer or Satan. Okay.
Sie haben Luzifer benutzt, um es klar zu machen, dass es spricht über Luzifer, eben Satan.
Okay. But I don't. You can definitely prove it also line upon line, but we can see Christ is the morning star,
Also du kannst das Linie auf Linie auch beweisen, aber du kannst hier sehen, dass Christus der Morgenstern
and
ist.
Satan he always counterfeits, right?
Und Satan fälscht dies immer.
His day is which day?
Sein Tag ist welcher Tag?
Sunday, right?
Der Sonnentag, also
Okay.
Sonntag.
He wants to be the morning star.
Der
Okay.
möchte den Morgenstern sein.
It's called the son of the morning.
Yes, and when you go to the Hebrew for Lucifer, it's morning star
Und wenn
translated.
du zu
Okay.
den Hebräischen für Luzifer gehst, es sagt Sohn des Morgens,
No, morning star.
Morgenstern.
So he's this counterfeit morning star. He's this counterfeit sun.
So,
Okay.
Er ist dieser gefälschte Morgenstern, diese gefälschte Sonne.
Okay. So now let's go to Isaiah 51 in our notes again.
Jetzt zu Jesaja 51, das ist in unseren Notizen.
It says that in Revelation 13, when they bow down and worship the sun, they worship the dragon. So they've given homage to him when they worship the sun. So
Okay.
Offenbarung 13, wenn sie die Sonne niederbeugen, dann beten sie den Drache an.
Just came a point to my mind. Okay. Let's go to. I didn't test it now, but I think it's valid. Let's go to the story of Joseph when he had the dream.
Wenn wir in unseren Bibeln zu der Geschichte von Josef, also den Traum hatte,
Let's go to Genesis 37, I think it is.
das ist das erste Buch Mose 37.
Verse 9.
Vers 9.
It says, And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. Obeisance to me. Okay. So here you have sun, moon, and stars, right?
Das ist die Sonne, Mond und Stern.
And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? So, therefore, who were sun, moon, and stars here?
Deswegen, wer war Sonne, Mond und Stern hier?
Well, it says in the Bible that the Lord will bring all those that persecuted you to worship at your feet.
You already jumped ahead. Okay, so
You're asking who they are.
just based upon now this verse here.
So. It says
Basierend auf diesen Vers hier. Wer ist
mother, father, and brothers.
Yes.
seine
Okay.
Mutter, Vater und Brüder?
So you had the father, right?
Es gibt der Vater
And the mother is the woman,
und
right?
die Mutter ist der Frau.
It's the moon.
Ist der Mond.
And the moon is reflecting
The
light of the sun, right?
Und die Mond reflektiert das Licht von der Sonne her.
And what is the woman in Bible prophecy?
Und die Frau, was ist das in der biblischen Prophetie?
The church,
Die
right?
Gemeinde.
Okay, and the brethren of Joseph were the children of
church.
the church and of the husband, right?
So, und die Brüder von Josef waren die Kinder von der Gemeinde, also von der Ehemann.
So when Christ and the church come together as man and wife,
So, wenn Christus und die Gemeinde als Mann und Frau zusammenkommen,
they have children,
sie
right?
haben dann Kinder.
Okay, then the woman is not desolate anymore,
Und
not
die
barren.
Frau ist nicht mehr unfruchtbar.
Okay, so therefore we can see the sun is Christ,
Deswegen können wir sehen, die Sonne ist Christus,
the moon is the church,
der Mond ist der Mond ist die Gemeinde
and the children are basically the converts that come out of this relation.
und die Kinder sind die Bekehrten, die aus dieser Beziehung erzeugt werden.
Okay, so but there must be also a counterfeit, right?
Aber es muss auch eine Fälschung geben.
So let's go to Revelation chapter 2.
So, lass uns zur Offenbarung Kapitel 2 gehen.
You didn't make the point though. You didn't make the point why they bowed Joseph's.
No, we come to this. Yes, and they all bow down, right?
Und sie beugen sich alle nieder.
So Revelation 2 and then afterwards Revelation 3.
Zur Offenbarung 2 und danach Offenbarung 3.
Let's read verse 8 to 9.
Die Verse 8 und 9.
And unto the angel of the church in Smyrna write, These things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So who are they?
Wer sind sie?
Satan's, yes, Satan's church, right?
Also Satans Gemeinde.
Okay, in Revelation 3,
Und in Offenbarung 3,
let's go to verses 7 to 9.
die Versen 7 bis 9.
It says, And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. And then verse 9.
Vers 9 jetzt.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So what do they do?
So was tun sie?
Bow down at your feet.
Yes, they bow down at your feet.
Sie
Right?
beugen sich zu deinen
Okay.
Füßen nieder.
So, but here you can see basically that Satan also has a church.
So
Okay.
hier kannst du sehen, dass Satan auch eine Gemeinde hat.
He's the husband,
Er ist der Ehemann,
he has a wife,
er hat eine Frau
and he has his children.
und
Right?
er hat seine Kinder.
Okay.
Amen.
So, all right. So therefore you have this counterfeit sun, moon, and stars.
Also deswegen gibt es diese gefälschte Sonne, Mond und Sterne.
Okay. Now let's go back to our notes,
Lass uns jetzt zurück zu den Notizen gehen.
to Isaiah 51,
Also Jesaja 51,
verses 5 to 6.
die Versen 5 und 6.
Okay. And the sun, moon, and stars, we know where are they located?
Und die Sonne, Mond und Stern, wir wissen, wo befinden sie sich?
In the heaven, right?
Der Himmel.
So if you have true sun and moon and stars, they're in the true heavens.
Also
Okay.
wenn du wahre Sonne, Mond und Sterne hast, die sind in der wahren Himmel.
But the false sun, moon, and stars are in the counterfeit heaven.
Aber
Okay.
die falsche Sonne, Mond und Sterne sind in der gefälschte oder der Fälschung des Himmels.
Just like with the two Jerusalems.
Genauso
Okay.
wie die zwei Jerusalem.
You have a true Jerusalem and you have a counterfeit Jerusalem.
Deine
Okay.
wahre Jerusalem und eine falsche Jerusalem.
Okay, so let's look at this now. Isaiah 51, verses 5 to 6.
Jesaja 51, 5 und 6.
It says, My righteousness is near, my salvation is gone forth, and mine arms shall judge the people. The isles shall wait upon me, and on mine arm shall they trust. Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment. And they that shall dwell therein shall die and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. So what does the Lord say? What will he do with the heavens?
So, was sagt der Herr? Was wird er mit den Himmeln tun?
Yeah, they will vanish away like smoke,
Sie
right?
verschwinden wie Rauch.
Okay, and this is when he will judge the people, it says here.
Da ist es, wo er den Menschen richten wird, wie es hier sagt.
Okay, now 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 7.
2. Petrus, Kapitel 3, beginnend Vers 7.
And we read down to verse 12.
bis Vers 12.
But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So, what will happen to the earth and to the heavens?
So, was wird mit der Erde und den Himmel passieren?
Yeah, they're reserved unto this judgment of fire, right?
Bestellt auf diesen Gericht des Feuers hin.
Okay, so jump down to verse 10.
Vers 10.
But the day of the Lord, which day?
Welchen Tag?
The day of the Lord.
Tag des Herrn.
That's the day of judgment, right?
Tag des Gerichts.
But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. So here we see the heavens shall pass away with great noise.
So hier sehen wir, dass die Himmel mit großem Geräusch vergehen werden.
Verse 11.
Vers 11.
Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens, being on fire, shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Okay, so what can we see? What will happen with the heavens?
So, was können wir sehen? Was werden mit den Himmeln geschehen?
Yeah, they will burn up, they will be dissolved, right?
Sie werden verbrennen, sie werden vergehen.
And it's here on the day of the Lord, the day of judgment, right?
Das ist hier am Tag des Herrn, Tag des Gerichts.
Okay, so in the quote before, or in the verse before, we saw the heavens vanish like smoke.
Und in den Versen zuvor haben wir gesehen, dass die Himmel vergehen wie Rauch.
And here we see because they are burnt up. Okay?
Und hier sehen wir, weil sie verbrannt sind oder verzehrt sind durch Feuer.
And are dissolved.
Und vergehen.
Lord, when I was doing this, I also had this thought. I don't know if I haven't seen whether you've made this point, but do you intend to cover the fowls of the heavens?
No.
Because in creation, all the fowls were flying in the air, which is the heavens between the waters.
Schöpfungswoche, alle Vögel des Himmels, die flogen in den Luft, was zwischen den zwei Gewässern
And
war.
it says several places in the Bible, the fowls of the heavens are what come down and devour the flesh of men. So
Es sagt, in einigen Plätzen in der Bibel sind die Vögel des Himmels, die kommen herab und den Fleisch von Menschen verzehren.
So the fowls of the heaven are the counterfeit sun, moon and stars. So I just
Vögel des Himmels sind diese falsche Sonne, Mond und Sterne in dem Sinn.
No, but I think later we can bring this together
because I see you've got
yes,
the same thought.
yes, yes. Later I'll make a similar point and then this point would fit in.
Also später werden wir wieder auf diesen Punkt zurückgreifen.
Okay, so now let's go to Matthew 24.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Matthäus 24.
Sorry, just to make this one final point here. In 2 Peter 3:10 it says, the heavens shall pass away with great noise, right?
Also 2. Petrus 3,10, es sagt, dass die Himmel mit großem Geräusch vergehen werden.
And the same wording is now used by Christ here in Matthew 24.
Und dieselbe Ausdrucksweise ist hier in Matthäus 24 von Christus gebraucht.
Matthew 24, 34 and 35.
24, die Verse 34, 35.
Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. So what will happen with heaven and earth?
So, was wird mit den Himmel und Erde geschehen?
They will pass away.
Es wird
Right?
vergehen.
Okay. Now Revelation 20,
Offenbarung 20,
verse 11.
Vers 11.
It says, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And this is when the great white throne comes, this is also judgment, right?
Das ist, wenn die große weiße Thron kommt, ist auch Gericht.
Okay, so here the heavens flee away.
Hier,
Okay.
die Himmel flüchten weg.
The great white throne would be the clouds, right? notice when he comes on the clouds. This great white cloud. They're fleeing away from him when he comes.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's on the clouds. Yes.
Also wenn er kommt an den Wolken. Das wäre dann diese große weiße Thron.
Okay. Now Revelation 21 verse 1.
Jetzt Offenbarung 21, Vers 1.
It says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea." Okay, so we can see first earth and first heaven will be taken out of the way, and the new heaven will be put in place. Okay.
Wir können sehen, der erste Himmel und der erste Erde ist aus dem Weg genommen
What? So,
und der neue Himmel und Erde ist aufgestellt.
so what does it remind you of?
So was oder woran erinnert uns das? Also die Sinnflut, sagt er.
Yes.
Das Neugeburt.
Okay. Yeah, but okay, you're on the on the right track, but not the
Die richtige Richtung.
first is taken away and the
Das
second is established, right?
erste ist weggenommen und das zweite etabliert.
It's the old covenant in the sense taken away,
Das ist das alte Bund in dem
New
Sinne
covenants.
weggenommen,
put in place, right?
neue Bund aufgestellt.
Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. And he also says when you just go to Revelation 21 in your Bibles,
Und wenn wir in unseren Bibeln zur Offenbarung 21 gehen,
let's read. We read verse 1 in the notes, but now let's read verses 4 to 7.
also in den Notizen haben wir bereits Vers 1 gelesen, aber jetzt lesen wir die Versen 4 bis 7.
It says, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away." What things?
Was für Dinge sind
The former things. It's the types, right?
die vorherigen Dinge, also die Typen,
Schoolmaster.
Yes. Okay.
der Schulmeister.
Okay. Remember the former things of
So,
Old,
gedenke
right?
an die frühere Sachen von Alterszeiten her.
Yeah. Verse 5.
Vers 5.
And he sat upon the throne, and he that sat upon the throne said, "Behold, I will make all things new." So that's now your point, sister.
Siehe, ich mache alle Dinge neu.
Lucia. Okay. It's a new birth,
Das
right?
ist das Neugeburt.
Okay. And he said unto me, "Write, for these words are true and faithful."
Right division.
Yes.
Schreibe die Vision.
And he said unto me, "It is done.
Sagt er, es ist getan.
I'm Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the waters of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. So that's when you know a son.
Das ist
Right?
Vers 7, da bist du ein Sohn.
Okay, so nice points.
Schöne Punkte.
Okay, and therefore we see whenever you're born again, there will be a judgment, and the Lord will take away these false heavens. But if you're a true star, He will keep you for all eternity, right?
So, wir können sehen, wenn immer du neu geboren bist, es gibt ein Gericht und der Herr wird diese falsche Himmel wegnehmen, aber wenn du ein wahrer Stern bist,
Then He will keep you for eternity.
dann wird er dich aufbewahren aufs
And He
Ewig.
will make you new.
Er wird dich neu machen.
Okay. So now let's go to Isaiah 34.
Jetzt Jesaja 34, wir sind zurück in die Notiz.
Yes. Back to the notes. Verses 1 to 5.
Die Verse 1 bis 5.
It says, "Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter." So, what is this?
Bis Vers 5, was ist das?
It's the execution.
Execution of the judgment,
Das
right?
ist die Ausführung des Gerichts.
It's the seventh plague,
7.
right?
Plage.
So it's where heaven and earth get shaken.
Das ist, wo die Himmel und Erde erschüttert werden.
Now verse 3.
Vers 3.
"Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. We saw the heavens are burnt up and dissolved, right?
Wir haben gesehen, dass die Himmel
Geht.
sind aufgebrannt und wo ist dissolved again?
Aufgelöst.
Aufgelöst.
So it says here, all the host of heaven shall be dissolved.
So, die ganze Heer des Himmels werden aufgelöst.
Is this true?
Ist das wahr?
Sorry? Yeah, only the wicked, right?
Und die Bösen.
Yes. Okay, so therefore here he clearly speaks only about the wicked, right?
Hier ist es klar, dass nur über die Bösen
You speak
spricht.
about the first heaven,
Yes.
not the second or
Yeah, it speaks about all those that get now. It speaks about the counterfeit heavens.
So, spricht über die falsche Himmel.
Okay, because it says all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down. How much of the host?
So, wie viel von deren Heer?
All, right?
Alle.
So it speaks about the wicked.
So,
Okay.
spricht über den Bösen.
why do you say counterfeit heaven? You mean counterfeit heaven as in they're trying to sit in the heavens and pretend to be God?
Yes, I mean Satan, he counterfeits it. Yeah.
Also,
So
Yes, but it's
Gefälschten.
It's really a heaven that God created that's going to be dissolved.
yeah, literally, eventually, yes.
No, what
But-
I'm saying, when you look at all these things, you can see that it's talking about, in the beginning, he separates the waters from the waters, and he makes this first heaven. This is the heaven that's getting dissolved. It's literally going to happen, right?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is it's a literal heaven that's been dissolved, but it's not speaking about above the clouds where the stars are, it's speaking about what's below the clouds.
But what I mean is, there's also prophetic
Yeah,
lesson
I
behind it,
deny
right? That there's a spiritual counterfeit heaven. That's
No, I totally get the point. I was just making the point that so that people understand that when Christ comes, when he comes through those clouds, the heavens there that's been dissolved, 'cause it's going to literally happen.
Yes.
It's that first heaven that we would call
Yes.
first.
Also, wenn Christus wirklich kommt, also der buchstäbliche Himmel, also zwischen Erde und den Wolken, werden tatsächlich aufgelöst werden. Aber Bruder Lorenz, der will zeigen hier, dass es ein geistliches Fälschung gibt von Himmel, die vergehen werden.
because the literal heaven, when will it be dissolved by fire?
Das buchstäbliches Himmel, wann wird das durch Feuer aufgelöst werden?
Yeah, after the literal 1,000 years,
So
right?
nach die buchstäblichen 1000 Jahren.
Okay. So, but before that, you always have this judgment taking place on the heavens. Okay.
Aber noch davor gibt es immer diese Gericht, die auf den Himmeln ausgeübt
Yeah.
wird.
It's on Satan and all his followers.
Das
Okay.
ist Satan und all seine Anhänger.
This false sun, this false moon, and the false stars.
Falsche Sonne, falscher Mond und falsche Sterne.
Okay. So, and this is what is described here in Ezekiel 34, verse 4.
Und
Okay.
das ist, was hier in Ezekiel 34, Vers 4 beschrieben
It
wird.
says, "And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and all the heavens shall be rolled together, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree."
It's Revelation 6.
Yes, that's Revelation 6, right?
Das ist Offenbarung 6.
And we come to this. Okay.
Dazu werden wir kommen.
"For my sword shall be bathed where?
So mein Schwert wird wo getaucht?
Heaven.
In heaven.
Im
Right?
Himmel.
Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment."
That's Edom.
Now, Hebrews 1, verses 10 to 12.
Hebräer 1, die Verse 10 bis 12.
So what did we read in Isaiah 34? What happens with the heavens?
Was haben wir in Jesaja 34 gelesen? Was geschieht mit den Himmeln?
Yes, they shall be rolled together as a scroll, it says,
Sie werden
right?
zusammengerollt wie ein Schriftroll.
Okay. Heavens rolled. Yes, this false heaven taken away. Okay.
Diese falsche Himmel weggenommen.
Okay. Hebrews 1, verses 10 to 12.
Hebräer 1, die Verse 10 bis 12.
It says, "And thou, Lord, in the beginning hast laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the works of thine hands. They shall perish." So what will the heavens do?
So, was werden die Himmeln tun?
Will perish.
Sie werden vergehen.
But thou remainest, and they shall all wax old as doth a garment. And as the vesture shalt thou fold them up, and they shall be changed. But thou art the same, and thy years shall not fail. Okay, so these heavens will be folded up like a vesture.
Also
Okay.
diese Himmel werden zusammengefaltet wie ein Kleidungsstück.
Okay. Yeah. So rolled together, folded up.
So, zusammengerollt oder zusammengefaltet.
Now let's go to Revelation 6,
Das ist Offenbarung 6,
verses 12 to 17.
Verse 12 bis 17.
It's a sixth seal.
Das ist der 6. Siegel.
And I beheld, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Okay, so what illustration is this here?
So, welche Darstellung ist das hier?
Seventh plague, right?
7. Plage.
Okay, so here we can see then the heavens will be rolled together as a scroll, right?
Hier können wir sehen, dass die Himmel wie eine Buchrolle zusammengerollt werden.
And the stars fall from heaven,
Die Sterne fallen vom Himmel.
and the sun will be dark, and the moon like blood.
Und die Sonne wird verfinstert und das Mond wie Blut.
Okay, so that's the sword of the Lord that will be bathed in the heavens.
Das
Okay,
ist der Schwert des Herrn, der im Himmel getaucht wird.
okay. Now let's go to Revelation 16,
Das ist Offenbarung 16,
verse 17.
Vers 17.
Speaks about the seventh plague.
Spricht über die 7. Plage.
It says, And the seventh angel poured out his vial into where?
So, wo goss er seine Schale aus?
Into the air,
In die
right?
Luft.
Prince of the air.
Yes, he will punish the prince of the air,
Er
right?
wird den Prinz der Atmosphäre bestrafen.
And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, It is done. Now jump down to verse 21, please.
Jetzt Vers 21.
It says, And there fell upon man great hail out of heaven. Where? From where?
Wo kamen sie her?
Great hail came out of heaven, right?
Der Hagel kam vom Himmel her.
Every stone about the weight of a talent. And man blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Okay, so the heavens get punished, right, at the seventh plague.
So, die Himmel werden bestraft an der 7. Plage.
It's poured in the air.
Es ist in die Luft gegossen worden.
And then, what did we read in Revelation 6? When the heavens get punished, what happens with the stars of heaven?
Was haben wir in Offenbarung 6 gelesen? Wenn die Himmel bestraft werden, was geschieht mit den Sternen da? Cast.
Yeah, they fall down on the earth, right?
Sie fallen zur Erde nieder.
Okay, and what falls down here on the earth
Und
from
was
heaven?
ist es, was hier vom Himmel fällt? Great hail.
Great hail, right?
Großes Hagel.
And it's a great plague for the men that live on earth.
Und es ist eine große Plage für die, die auf der Erde wohnen.
Okay, so now let's go to Psalms 18,
Das ist Psalm 18,
verses 10 to 13.
Verse 10 bis 13.
It says, And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. So when does the Lord come upon the cherub?
So, wann kommt der Herr auf den Cherubim her?
It's the seventh plague, right?
Die 7. Plage.
When he comes, it's the cherubims are these clouds, right?
Wenn er kommt, diese Cherubim sind die Wolken.
Yes.
Amen.
Okay. And he made darkness his secret place, his pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. At the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed, hailstones and coals of fire. The Lord also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice. What shakes the heavens?
So, was erschüttert den Himmel?
The voice of God, right?
Die Stimme des Herrn.
So, let's read verse 13 again.
Vers 13.
The Lord also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. Okay, so when he shakes the heavens and the earth with his voice,
So, wenn er die Himmel und Erde mit seiner Stimme erschüttert,
what fell down from heaven? What did we read?
fiel vom Himmel herab. Was haben wir gelesen?
Hailstones, right?
So, Hagelstein.
But here it says it's hailstones and
Aber hier sagt es sind Hagelsteine und
coals of fire.
so brennende
Okay.
Kohlen, Feuerkohlen.
So, and what did we study? What are the coals of fire?
Und was haben wir studiert? Was sind diese Feuerkohlen?
Yes, the angels.
Yes, okay.
Engel.
Yes.
Let's go to Ezekiel Chapter 1.
Gehen wir zu Ezekiel Kapitel 1.
Because in Revelation 8, when Christ there ministers
So in Offenbarung 8, wenn Christus da dient,
and he ceases, what does he do?
er hört damit auf. Was tut er? Throws the censer down.
Throws the censer down with all the hot coals, right?
Wirft den Räuchergefäß nieder mit all den heißen Kohlen drin.
Yeah, so it's the hot coals coming down from heaven.
Das sind diese heißen Kohlen, die vom Himmel her abfallen.
And in Ezekiel 10, it's these hot coals that fall upon Jerusalem, right?
In Hesekiel 10 sind diese heißen Kohlen, die auf Jerusalem fallen.
Okay, so now Ezekiel 1,
Hesekiel 1 jetzt
speaking about the cherubims here,
spricht über den Cherubim
in verse 13.
und Vers 13.
And Margaret, can you maybe make the window on Gitter? Thanks. So Ezekiel 1:13
Hesekiel 1, Vers 13.
says, "As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire." How were they like?
So, wie sahen sie aus?
Like burning coals of fire.
Wie
Right?
brennende Feuerkohlen.
So the cherubims are these hot coals.
Die
Okay,
Cherubime sind diese heißen Kohlen.
it's the angels.
Das sind die
Okay.
Engel.
And it also says they're like burning lamps, and that star in Revelation 8 comes down like a burning lamp.
Yes.
Es sagt auch, dass sie wie brennende Lampen oder Fackeln sind und diesen Stern in Offenbarung 8, der herabkam. Ist wie
Yes.
eine
It says here
brennende Lampe.
like burning coals of fire and like the appearance of lamps. Right.
Also wie die Aussehen von Lampen oder Fackeln.
Okay. So, but when you go now to Ezekiel 10,
Und wenn wir jetzt zu Hesekiel 10 gehen,
verse 2.
Vers 2,
It says, Ezekiel 10:2,
Hesekiel 10 und Vers 2.
"And he spake unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thine hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight." So, which city is it speaking about here?
So, welche Stadt ist hier die Rede?
Jerusalem, right?
Jerusalem.
So the hot coals of fire destroyed
Also
Jerusalem.
die
Right?
heißen Feuerkohlen zerstören Jerusalem.
And who destroyed Jerusalem?
Und wer ist es, der Jerusalem zerstörte?
I mean,
Rome.
it was Rome and Babylon, right?
Das war Rom und Babel.
But why did Rome destroy Jerusalem?
Aber warum hat Rom Jerusalem zerstört?
Why did the destruction of Jerusalem take place?
So, warum ist die Zerstörung Jerusalems
Yes,
zustande
because
gekommen?
they crucified Christ,
Weil
right?
sie Christus kreuzigten.
And they chose
Barabbas.
Barabbas and also Caesar,
Ja,
right?
sie haben Barabbas und auch
Ja.
Caesar
Cruel
gewählt.
Lord that comes to
Exactly. Yeah.
Also diese grausame Herde über sie.
This is why it says Caesar they chose, Caesar they should get. Okay?
Und White hat gesagt, Caesar haben sie gewählt, Caesar sollen sie bekommen.
And Caesar destroyed them.
Und Caesar hat sie zerstört.
Okay? And this is why it said it was Satan who destroyed Jerusalem.
Und in White sagt, es war Satan, der Jerusalem
And
zerstört.
it's these hot coals from heaven because it's the seventh plague.
Es sind
Right?
diese heiße Kohlen von Himmel her, weil es der 7. Plage
Ja.
ist.
The destruction of Jerusalem is the seventh plague.
Die Zerstörung Jerusalems ist der 7. Plage.
Remember?
Könnt ihr erinnern?
Yeah. Matthew 24.
Matthäus 24.
What shall be the sign
Was
of thy coming
ist das Zeichen deines Kommens
and of the end of the world?
und das Ende der Welt?
And was they connected it with the bringing down of these temple buildings,
Und
right?
sie haben das verbunden mit das Niederbringen dieser Tempelgebäude,
Which is the destruction of Jerusalem.
was die Zerstörung Jerusalems ist.
Okay, good. somehow maybe our minds are not so awake tonight. Okay, so but it's so these hot coals are also the hail, right?
Diese
That's what
heiße Kohlen sind auch Hagel. wie wir
so
lesen.
and at the seventh plague we saw the hail came down from heaven.
Und in
Right?
der 7. Plage haben wir gesehen, dass Hagel kommt vom Himmel herab.
So therefore, what is it that came down from heaven?
Also deswegen, was ist es, was vom Himmel herabkam?
Yeah, it's the fowls of heaven, right?
Dieser Vogel des Himmels.
It's Satan and his demons that get now cast out of heaven.
Es ist Satan, sein Dämonen, die aus dem Himmel hinausgeworfen
The,
sind.
the hail's coming down to destroy, and the fowls of heaven are coming down to eat the flesh of everybody that he's deceived.
Yes.
Der Hagel kommt, um zu zerstören, und diesen Vogel kommt, um den Fleisch zu essen, all diejenigen, die er verführt.
Okay, because when you go now back to your notes,
Denn wenn du jetzt zu den Notizen zurückgehst,
to Isaiah 14,
Jesaja 14,
verses 12 to 15,
Verse 12 bis 15.
says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? So what happens to Lucifer?
Also was geschieht mit Luzifer?
Falls out of heaven.
Er
Right?
fällt vom Himmel her.
Okay. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
Also, while we are on that verse, can I share a thought that
Yes.
we've never understood? And where's the one where it says, is it Joel between the seas? No, Daniel 11.
Daniel
right?
11, yes.
Okay, so because
Okay, let's go then to Daniel 11.
So gehen wir zu Daniel 11.
this is talking about church and state, right?
Daniel 11 spricht es über Staat und Kirche.
And Daniel 11, 40 to 45 is also speaking about this when this church and state is set up, right?
Daniel 11, 40 bis 45 spricht darüber, wo Staat und Kirche aufgestellt werden.
Because verse 45.
Vers 45.
So we've got to talk about this false heaven, right?
Wir haben über diese falsche Himmel gesprochen.
How are they fallen from heaven,
Wie
right?
bist du vom Himmel hergefallen?
So where is he?
So, wo ist er?
He's between the seas
Er ist zwischen den Seen oder die Meere.
because the waters on the earth and the waters in the heavens. There's these two waters,
Also
right?
diese zwei Wassern bei der Schöpfung, die im Himmel und die auf der
The
Erde.
water on the earth he called seas, right?
Die Wasser auf der Erde nannte er Meere.
So in verse 45 it says, He'll plant his tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end and none shall help him. So he's between the seas there
Zwischen die Meere da,
when he's getting brought down.
wenn er herabgebracht wird.
It says here how they're fallen from heaven, always when he sets up church and state.
Und er sagt, wie bist du vom Himmel her gefallen, O Luzifer? Und das ist, wenn er Staat und Kirche aufstellt.
Okay, so that's just my thought. But
The veil is also pulled out in the air.
no way that's different. But I'm just making this point about I've always wanted to understand what does that mean between the seas. But
Ich habe immer verstehen wollten, was das bedeutet hier zwischen die Meere.
But why do you? I mean, I think also I have a thought to this, no.
Also ich habe auch einen Gedanke dazu.
But why do you say when he gets now cast to the ground that he's between the seas?
Warum sagst
he's not he's between the seas, and then because he says he's between the seas, and then you shall come to your end. Then he gets cast.
er ist zwischen die Meere. Und dann sagt es, er wird zu seinem Ende kommen. Das ist, wenn er niedergeworfen wird.
He's setting up this counterfeit heaven, right?
Yes.
Er stellt diese falsche Himmel auf,
So
So
the
he's
counterfeit heaven is.
to trying to obscure the true heaven, right?
um das wahre Himmel
Ah.
zu verhüllen.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now I get what you want to say. Okay. Yes. All right. Yeah, that might be a valid thought.
Never understood
Yes, yes,
this.
I also will bring another thought to this. What
Ich
you
werde
just
einen
mentioned.
anderen Gedanke dazu bringen.
Okay. So now let's go to Revelation chapter 12,
Gehen wir in unseren Notizen zu Offenbarung 12,
verses 3 to 4.
die Verse 3 und 4.
It says, And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. where did this wonder appear?
So, wo ist diese Wunder erschienen?
In heaven.
In heaven,
Im
right?
Himmel,
And then verse 4.
Vers 4.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So here we see also the stars now fall from heaven.
So,
Right?
hier können wir sehen die Sterne, die vom Himmel fallen.
Now verse 7
Vers 7
and 8.
und 8.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found in any more in heaven.
But that would be the true heaven.
Yeah, that would be the truth.
Das hier spricht über der wahre Himmel.
So after he falls, he sets up a counterfeit and
Yes.
puts himself back there.
Nachdem er fällt, er stellt diese Fälschung auf.
Okay. And he sets himself up in the counterfeit.
Und er stellt sich in diesen Fälschungen auf.
It's like with the king of the south and the king of the north, right?
So, König des Südens und König des Nordens.
So the king of the south is clearly Satan,
So, der
right?
König des Südens ist offensichtlich Satan.
What does he do?
Aber was tut er?
He makes a counterfeit north, right?
Er macht eine Fälschung des Nordens.
So he basically sets himself up in the heavens where Christ is, and he
Yes.
pretends to be Christ.
Tabernacle.
Okay.
So, er stellt sich in den Himmeln auf, wo Christus ist, und macht aus, dass er Christus sei.
So therefore, in this counterfeit heaven, he pretends to be the God of the universe.
In diesem falschen Himmel macht er vor, den Gott des Universums
And it's
zu
also interesting, right?
sein. Das ist interessant.
For instance, in the actors, what are they actors?
Zum
Right?
Beispiel Schauspielern. Die sind
In Hollywood, how are they called?
Hollywood, Schauspielern. Wie sind sie genannt?
Stars, right?
Sterne.
They're actors. Okay.
Sie sind Schauspieler.
Yes.
So,
But
Heuchler.
Satan understands that we are all actors here,
Yeah.
right?
Aber Satan versteht, dass wir sind alle hier Schauspieler.
Yeah. And he counterfeits it, but he counterfeits it literally, right?
Aber er fälscht es buchstäblich.
And then he gives you this walk of fame, okay?
Und er gibt dir diese, also Bahn der Ehre, oder ja,
False, I don't know, triumphal entry or
It
whatever.
should be at the stars.
so falsche triumphale Einzug.
Yes, yes, yes.
Die kriegen alle eine Pokal.
Because the stars are engraved in stone.
Yes.
Yes.
Weil die Sterne sind im Stein eingraviert.
So you can see that Satan understands all these things, and he just mocks us, and he places us these things before our eyes.
Satan versteht all diese Dinge und er spottet uns, indem dass er all diese Sachen unter unsere Augen reibt.
Okay.
Trying to get the Oscar the golden statue.
Yes. Pokal.
Mhm.
So, die versuchen den Oscar zu bekommen, diese goldene Statue.
Exactly. Okay. So now let's go to Isaiah 24.
So, Jesaja 24 jetzt.
Okay, we saw Satan, he gets cast out of the true heaven,
Wir haben
right?
gesehen, dass Satan aus dem wahren Himmel hinausgeworfen
But also
wird.
the false heaven is punished.
Aber
Okay.
auch der falsche Himmel wird bestraft.
Okay. So now let's read Isaiah 24, verse 19 to 23.
24, die Verse 19 bis
It
23.
says, "The earth is utterly broken down, the earth is clean dissolved, the earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again." So it's the punishment, now the seventh plague here.
Die Bestrafung hier, der 7. Plage.
"And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth." Okay, so he punishes the earth.
So, er bestraft die Erde,
That's the shaking of the earth,
das
right?
ist die Erschütterung der Erde.
But he also punishes the heavens
High
here,
ones on high.
Aber er
Yes.
bestraft auch den Himmel.
the high ones on high.
And that's it now, I understand. When you Ezekiel, the tree,
Mhm.
when Pharaoh gets brought down, right, he says, and all the nations dwell under the branches, but the fowls are sitting high in the branches
Yes. And it reaches unto heaven,
and
right?
reaches unto heaven, right?
Yes.
So that the fowls are it's Satan making his nest in this
Mhm.
counterfeit
Heaven.
In
statue.
Hesekiel, dieser Baum, wenn es bis in den Himmel reicht, alle Tiere der Erde sind unter seine Zweigen, in den Schatten seiner Zweigen, aber die Vögel, die nesten in den Zweigen ganz oben,
So they're the high
in der
ones.
Krone, und das ist Satan, der macht sein Nest in diesem Baum, wenn es den Himmel reicht.
Yes. So these demons, yeah,
Die
these fowls.
Dämonen.
Okay, because what does it say? When the seed is sown
Also
next
wenn
to the
der-
wayside,
Same gesät wird
Fowls coming.
auf den Weg,
then the fowls of heaven come and eat it up, right?
kommen die Vogel des Himmels und verzehren das ab.
And Jesus says it's when Satan comes and takes away the seed, right?
Und Jesus sagt es, wenn Satan kommt und den Samen wegnimmt.
Okay. So, but let's read now what happens here.
Aber lasst uns hier lesen, was hier
So
geschieht.
he punishes the high ones that are on high,
Er bestraft den Hohen, die in der Höhe sind.
in now verse 22.
Vers 22.
And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days shall they be visited. So, here, at the end of the seventh plague, what happens with Satan,
So hier am Ende der 7. Plage, was geschieht mit Satan?
this high one?
Diese hohe eine hier.
So he gets cast down, right?
Er wird hinuntergeworfen.
But then it says here in verse 22,
Aber in Vers 22 sagt es,
yes, he is now prisoner in the pit,
er ist
right?
jetzt eine Gefangene in der Grube
And he's shut up in the prison.
und er ist abgeschlossen im Gefängnis.
And after many days he shall be visited. Right?
Viele Tage wird er heimgesucht werden.
So it speaks about the 1,000 years,
So,
right?
das spricht über die 1000 Jahre.
Okay. And when the Lord punishes here, it says, verse 23 then,
Vers 23, wenn er bestraft, sagt es hier.
then the moon shall be confounded and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. So let's go now to Revelation 20.
Das ist Offenbarung 20.
It says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. Okay, so Satan is now Satan is shut up
So, Satan ist jetzt abgeschlossen
and sealed, right?
und versiegelt.
Okay, and what can he do? What can't he do anymore?
Und was kann er nicht mehr tun?
Deceive the nation.
Yes, he cannot deceive. Okay.
Er kann die Nation nicht mehr verführen.
And we saw where did he sit? He sat in these counterfeit heavens, right?
Wir haben gesehen, wo sitzt er? In diese falsche Himmel.
But these counterfeit heavens, we saw, they will be rolled together as a scroll.
Und diese
Right.
falsche Himmel, wie wir gesehen haben, wird zusammengerollt wie eine Schriftrolle.
Okay. Now let's go to Zechariah chapter 5,
Wenn wir jetzt zu Sacharja Kapitel 5,
in verse 1.
Vers 1.
Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. Right?
Fliegende Rolle.
Okay. So that's the flying roll.
Das ist eben die fliegende Rolle.
Okay. Jump down to verse 5.
So Vers 5.
And the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes, and see what is this that goeth forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah that goes forth. And he said, Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. Okay, so he saw now this ephah. Okay.
Das war diese Epha.
Do you know what an ephah is?
Wisst ihr, was ein Epha ist?
Was a measurement unit. Okay,
Das war
it's
so
like
eine Maßeinheit.
it's like a pot in a certain size where you can put so and so much in.
Das
Okay.
war so ein Topf in einer bestimmten Größe, die eine bestimmte Menge beinhält oder einfüllen kann.
Okay, now let's continue. Verse 7.
Lesen wir weiter, Vers 7.
It says, And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. So what was in the midst of the ephah?
So, was war inmitten dieser Epha?
A counterfeit church.
Yes, this woman,
Eine
right?
Frau.
Okay, and the woman is a church or a doctrine,
Eine
right?
Frau ist eine Gemeinde oder eine Lehre.
Okay, but now it says here in verse 8,
Aber in Vers 8 sagt
and he
es,
said, This is wickedness. Okay, so this woman is wickedness.
diese Frau ist Bösheit.
And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. Then lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Okay, so who came here?
So wer kam hier?
these two women,
Diese
like a
zwei
stork. Right?
Frauen wie Storche.
So who are they?
Wer sind sie?
They're the fowls of the heaven.
Yeah, they're these
Yes.
false anointed ones, right?
Diese
The counterfeit anointed ones.
falsche Gesalbten,
Ja.
Vogel des Himmels.
Okay. And the two anointed ones on either side, what is in the midst?
Und die zwei Gesalbten auf die jeweiligen Seiten, was ist in der Mitte? Christ on the throne.
Christ on the throne, right?
Christus am Thron.
It's the Ark of the
Das
Covenant.
ist der
Okay.
Bundeslade.
But here it's the
Aber hier
counterfeit of
ist
it.
der
Okay.
Fälschung dessen.
Okay, and what is inside the Ark of the Covenant?
Was ist innerhalb der Bundeslade?
The flying roll.
The flying roll,
Die
exactly.
fliegende Rolle.
Okay, because inside the Ark of the Covenant is the two tables of stone.
Denn in der Bundeslade sind diese zwei Steine Tafel.
Yes.
Amen.
And how are they written?
Und wie sind sie beschrieben?
On both sides.
Auf
Right?
den beiden Seiten.
Got a
And-
good for you.
And one thing, please. Yeah. And when you break them, what comes upon you?
Und wenn du sie brichst, was kommt über dich?
The curse, right?
Der Fluch.
Okay. So the flying roll is what is inside the Ark of the Covenant.
Die fliegende
Okay?
Rolle, das ist, was in der Bundeslade
But
ist.
here, this what is in the ephah.
Aber hier, was ist in der Eva? Led.
It's wickedness.
Das ist Bösheit.
Yeah, it's the counterfeit
Das ist der
flying
Fälschung,
roll.
der Fälschung des fliegenden Rolle.
Yes. One thing, Mark. I just need to.
It's good. Okay, go on.
Yeah.
This is nice.
So it's the counterfeit flying roll.
Das ist die Fälschung des fliegenden Rolle.
Did you get this?
Konntet ihr das sehen?
Okay. Because it's these two storks, or the women as storks,
Zwei Störche oder Frauen wie Störche.
and they're on either side,
Die
right?
sind auf die jeweiligen Seiten.
And they bear up this ephah in the
Und
midst.
sie tragen diese Eva hoch in deren Mitten.
Okay. So it's the false two anointed ones, yeah, on the Ark of the Covenant,
Das
the
sind
counterfeit
die
Ark.
zwei falsche Gesalbten auf den Seiten von der falschen Bundeslade.
Okay. So, and where do they place it
Und wo
when they
bringen
lift it
sie
up?
hin, wenn sie es erheben?
Between heaven and earth.
Zwischen
Okay.
Himmel und Erde.
And what is this?
Und was ist das?
It's the
Das
cross.
ist das Kreuz.
But also, what is it?
Aber was ist es noch?
When you bring no.
Curse.
Okay, yes, but when you bring in no Mark's thoughts,
Between
yeah,
the
between the
seas.
seas, exactly.
Zwischen den Meeren.
Okay. So this is when when he's now between the seas.
Das
Okay.
ist, wenn sind die Meere sind.
Yes, and I've got a nice thing to show the counterfeit, right?
Yes.
Revelation 14, verse 6.
Also in Offenbarung 14 und Vers 6.
Because where are they? They're in the midst of heaven.
Und wo sind sie hier? Die sind inmitten des
Ah, the
Himmels.
angels, yes.
And they're
Ah.
flying.
Yes, yes.
Und sie
yes.
fliegen.
And it says here, because the flying roll is the first angel's message.
Also die
Yes.
fliegende Rolle ist der erste Engelsbotschaft.
It says, I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every nation, kindred, and tongue and people. So, that's the flying roll.
Yes.
So das ist der fliegende Rolle.
Yes.
So, they're flying in the midst of their heaven with their counterfeit roll.
And
Also sie
yes.
fliegen in der Mitte von deren Himmel mit dieser falschen Rolle.
Yes, and no, the true one flying in the midst of
Yeah,
the
just-
true heaven. Okay.
I'll just
Okay.
repeat what he said.
No, that's what he said.
No, he said that, and then he said, and they're flying in the midst of their heaven with their foes.
Yeah, but their heaven.
Yes,
The
that's what he said.
counterfeit, so they're in the true heaven.
Deren Himmel, der falsche.
No, Scott, this is in the true heaven.
This is the true.
I know that.
Right.
I said that.
You said
No
this?
problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Das hier ist der wahre Himmel.
Yes. So the first angel's message, which is the flying roll, flies in the true heaven,
So, der erste Engelsbotschaft, was der fliegende Rolle ist, fliegt in der wahre Himmel.
but the counterfeit flying roll, which is the counterfeit first angel's message, flies in the counterfeit heaven.
Aber der falsche fliegende Rolle, was der falsche erste Engelsbotschaft ist, fliegt in der falsche Himmel.
That maybe answers Christian's question from yesterday. He asked why it was great.
Yeah.
The whole heaven,
Mm.
right?
What did he ask?
He says, why does it say there's eat the little book, which is the flying roll, but the flying roll is great?
So, hat gefragt, warum
Okay. Why it's so great?
der kleine Buchlein, was der fliegende Rolle ist, die man essen soll, warum es so groß ist.
Yes, and therefore you can see basically, because what happens here with the true flying roll?
Was geschieht hier mit der wahren fliegenden Rolle?
The judgment is set in the,
Das Gericht wird aufgestellt
Books are open,
und die
right?
Bücher sind geöffnet.
but the counterfeit
shut.
Heavens is this roll that gets folded together.
Aber
Okay?
die falsche Himmel ist diese Buchrolle, der zusammengerollt wird.
And whose word is in the true roll?
Also wessen Wort ist in der wahren Rolle?
Christ.
God's word, right?
Gottes Wort.
He shuts the lion's mouth there.
Yes, but Satan's counterfeit roll, whose word is this?
Also Satans falsche Rolle, wessen Wort ist das?
Satan's word, right?
Satans Wort.
So Satan, he gets here shut up and sealed, right?
Satan wird hier abgeschlossen und verriegelt,
That he cannot deceive anymore.
dass er
Okay?
nicht mehr verführen kann.
Because his heavens now get rolled together as a scroll and they are now shut up and sealed.
Seine Himmeln werden zusammengerollt wie eine Schriftrolle und die werden
The
verschlossen
door
und
opens,
versiegelt.
the door shut.
Yes, now this error gets removed, okay?
Und dieser Irrtum wird entfernt.
And that's why-
Vanishes like smoke.
Yes, it vanishes like smoke. And
Satan is depicted as smoke. Revelation 9, right? His kingdom.
but that's different.
illustration.
Yes. Okay, but we can speak about it later. Okay, but so this false heaven gets taken out of the way, so the error gets removed.
Falsche Himmel wird entfernt, also Irrtum wird entfernt.
And who can you see now coming?
Und wer kannst du jetzt sehen, der kommt?
Christ.
Christ,
Du
right?
kannst sehen, wie Christus kommt.
So Satan no longer blocks your view. Okay,
Satan kann nicht mehr deine Sicht verhindern.
and this is what it's now when you go to the last quote.
Und das ist es, wenn
No.
wir jetzt in die Notizen zur letzten Zitat gehen.
It says, dark, heavy clouds. Which kind of clouds?
So was für Wolken?
Dark, heavy clouds,
Dunkle,
right?
schwere Wolken.
Satan and his angels are also clouds, right?
Satan und seine Engel sind auch Wolken.
But they are these dark, heavy
Also
clouds.
diese
Okay?
darke, schwere Wolken.
Dark, heavy clouds came and clashed against each other. The atmosphere parted and rolled back. Then we could look up through the open space and Rhine, whence came the voice of God. The holy city will come down through that open space. Okay, so when the error is removed, you now can see clearly. Okay.
Wenn der Irrtum entfernt wird, dann kannst du klar sehen.
Okay, so therefore we can see basically that there's a true heavens and a counterfeit heavens.
Deswegen können wir sehen, es gibt eine wahre Himmel und eine falsche Himmel.
And the counterfeit heaven, it will be rolled back here together and will be shut up and sealed.
Der falsche Himmel wird zusammengerollt und wird abgeschlossen, versiegelt werden,
That Satan cannot deceive anymore,
dass Satan nicht mehr verführen kann,
because now all error will be taken out of the way.
weil alles Irrtum wird aus dem Weg genommen werden.
And then you can see clearly. Okay.
Dann kannst du klar sehen.
Okay, so and that's always important, that whenever we see a true illustration, you can be sure there's a counterfeit to it.
Das
Okay.
ist wichtig, wenn immer wir eine wahre Darstellung sehen kann, dass es immer eine Fälschung dessen geben
And
wird.
Satan, he wants to place himself between the seas. Okay.
Satan möchte sich zwischen den Meeren stellen,
In this counterfeit heaven,
in diese falsche Himmel,
that he then can basically block out the true heaven.
so
Okay.
dass er den wahren Himmel also ausblockieren kann.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So, and you can see there's many things there that we studied in the past that we now build upon. Okay.
Wir sehen, dass es vieles gibt, was wir in der Vergangenheit studiert haben, worauf wir jetzt bauen können.
Okay. So we need to pray that the Lord reminds us of these things, then we can more easily follow. Okay.
Wir müssen beten, dass der Herr uns an diese Dinge erinnert, sodass wir sie einfacher folgen können.
Then let's close with our prayer.
Wir müssen uns mit unserer Gebet schon beschlossen haben.